I am so happy, I am so pleased, I am so pumped up that Bobby Lashley is the new Intercontinental Champion. I have dressed up for the occasion. If Bobby Lashley ever sees this video, that's how much I respect you, Bobby Lashley. I put on a nice shirt. I was also listening to the Wrestling Observer the other day, and Dave Meltzer said, you look like that despite not watching what you eat. That made me cry a little bit, because my diet has to be on point 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but it also made me fall in love with you a little bit more. Hence the attire, Bobby Lashley. However, Bobby Lashley is your new Intercontinental Champion, and I already know one person will hear me say that and go, that's a spoiler. Of course it's a spoiler. We've got to talk about it at some point. Also, it's in the damn title of the video. I mean, what even is the rule for that? Do I have to wait till like 2022 before I can come on here and go, oh, Bobby Lashley is your new champion? Even then, someone will go, oh, I haven't seen that yet. Yeah, but there's got to be a limitation. Eventually, I have to be able to talk about it. Otherwise, what am I going to do? Nothing. It did go down on this week's episode of Raw, though, between Bobby Lashley, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose, and there wasn't even that much shenanigans. I mean, Lio Rush kept getting involved, but really, the last shot we saw was Dean Ambrose taking a really good-looking spear, Bobby Lashley hooking that leg, getting the 3, and yeah, becoming your new Intercontinental Champion. As with all these changes, though, there are reasons behind it, and I'm here to bring it to you. So, Bobby Lashley is your new Intercontinental Champion. Why? Ha! Here's why. Right, let's not muck around. As much as I do like Lashley in the WWE, he's not really being used like I would have hoped. If you've seen his stuff in TNA, you know he's far more than just a jacked up piece of man meat, to use Vince McMahon's words, and he can talk, and really, if you give him the chance, he can be a bit of an asshole in the intended way. I assume McMahon has never seen TNA, or he's never watched TNA, so instead he gave Bobby Lashley a mouthpiece in Lio Rush. You know what though? That's fine. The pairing have something about them. And as soon as they did come out on Raw that first time a few months ago, I was like, yeah, I kind of like this. And I even got a weird kick out of Lio Rush going, Lashley, Lashley, over and over again. I don't know why. I'm clearly a sucker for punishment. But if his job is to piss you off and Lashley's job is to make you think that he could murder anybody in the ring because he looks like a tank, well, that's a relationship that works like that. With two hands coming together, you get clap noise. Rush writes the verbal check and Lashley cashes them in the ring. It has been a symbiotic relationship. Again, I still feel like there's more here, and that's why I'm hoping this IC title change is catalyst for just that. Which brings us to all the reasons why this did happen, and we'll start with the easiest, and the one you probably already assume. It's because Vince McMahon is finally ready to go all in with Bobby Lashley. Since day one, he's always been a pet project for the boss, and the real issue a few years ago, or at least during his first WWE run, was that he was pushed a little bit too fast and a little bit too hard. I mean, he's always looked the part, which has allowed him to get away with a lot, but we could have probably have let Bobby Lashley breathe a little bit more. In fact, apparently that was always the fear that WWE officials had even way back when Bobby Lashley was down in developmental. Everyone was like, we can't let Vince McMahon see Bobby, because when he does lay his eyes on him and he sees this genetic freak, he's going to want to put him on Raw or SmackDown or ECW as soon as possible. And that's exactly what happened. Either way, he still eventually found his way into being a good performer. And let's be honest, you don't turn those kind of opportunities down. If Vince rings you on the phone and says, hey, wannabe wrestler, do you want to come and be on two of the biggest shows in the wrestling world? You go, yes, Vince. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Vince. I'm really looking forward to it, Vince. I'm sorry I keep using your name, Vince. And that's what's happening again right now. McMahon is reportedly very high on Lashley and Rush and feels like adding a title to their act could be what brings them around, or at least takes them up to the next level. And I like it. I was really happy for some reason to see Bobby Lashley win the belt, especially because he celebrated like it meant something. Straight away, the IC Championship had climbed up a few rungs on the ladder. It also doesn't hurt that the only real title run I remember when it comes to his WWE experiences is that old ECW Championship, and we all know what happened with that brand. It went into the toilet. Although they did do that weird skit with the Nacho Man, and the impression was so good, not only did I enjoy it, I still watch it today. YouTube it right now. You may just smile. So hopefully this is the start of a Lashley we can all get behind, and not a Lashley that has to deal with Sami Zayn talking to a bunch of fake sisters that WWE just made up, or a Bobby Lashley that has to flash his ass to the audience. However, we mentioned Sami Zayn, and that brings us on to reason number 2 when we ask, why? And that is because there is yet even more murmurings that when Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens do return, and apparently that's going to be quite soon, they're going to go after Bobby Lashley, and in turn, they're going to go after the Intercontinental Championship. And that makes loads of sense, because if you remember, the reason within kayfabe, within the world of storytelling, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn aren't here is because Bobby Lashley beat him up and sent them packing. And I'm alright with that. I genuinely miss Owens and Zayn. If they're going to come back in, start feuding over the IC Championship, and it allows Lashley to add a few more strings to his bow, sign me up, Daddy-O. It's exactly what I need in my life. Aside from that, we also have to look at the other players that were involved in this to realise how we got here. And we'll start with your man, we'll start with your boy, we'll start with the MVP of Raw at the moment. That would be Seth Rollins. You may have noticed there's been a slight separation over the last few weeks between Rollins and Dean Ambrose. That's because their feud looks like it's already coming to an end. Now, on one hand, that sucks. They only had like one match at TLC 2018. Dean Ambrose won the belt and then, we're over and done with it. But again, Vince McMahon, it wasn't really very high. And what they did do, the crowd chanted boring. That's basically like a nail in the coffin. Now, it is a bit weird just to leave it given how much time we invested in it. But after this WWE shuffle, plans have changed. So while you may get the odd Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins match, that ain't the focal point, because on the grapevine it states that the person slated to win the Royal Rumble in 2019, what's that? Oh yeah, it's Seth Rollins. You can't go anywhere in the wrestling landscape at the moment without seeing articles, videos, and people just shouting from rooftops, giving their predictions about who could win the Rumble, and every name that comes up on every single one of these, and again, is the rumor from backstage, is that it is going to be Rollins. He can then move on to WrestleMania 35, beat Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship, and finally take up his spot at the top of the card as a good guy babyface that everybody loves. And let's face it, that's what we need right now, especially on Monday nights. And if this is the case, he can't be mucking around with the IC title for too long, because he too has to start making his way up the mountain. We're also moving away from the Ambrose program, because just remind yourself how quickly Bobby Lashley was thrown into that. He was feuding with Elias before Vince McMahon came out and apologised to the fans and said we're going to do things differently. And then a few weeks later, kablamo! He's the IC champ, so things and plans have changed. As Ambrose has come up too, for starters, why on earth was he only given a sub-month title reign? I don't 100% have the answers for that, but again, if I keep my ear to the ground, which I always do, I like being on the floor, it makes me feel comfortable. His rumoured WrestleMania 35 opponent is, wait for it, think about it, EC3. I was going to do the Repo Man joke there, but I always like to keep you guessing. Love that Repo Man. How we get there, I have no idea, especially because all Ethan has done so far is walk up to a microphone and say absolutely nothing on Raw, and then on SmackDown, been flexing for no apparent reason into a mirror. And again, imagine you're a kid and you're dreaming about making your WWE debut, and then you get there and a producer or agent says, right, what we're going to do, EC3 is here, just look and smile into the camera, but don't say anything, and then pretend that you're flexing away and doing a dance backstage on SmackDown as Samoa Joe walks by. What is that? The third thing he probably got told was afterwards, please just sit down and contemplate your life and contemplate all your life choices. It's also fair to say that if this is the plan, shouldn't Dean Ambrose be holding on to that championship until WrestleMania 35, where he should then relinquish it to EC3 to say, hey look, this guy's come up from NXT, he's a brand new person on the main roster, and within a few months he's not only beaten the established Dean Ambrose, but he's got what is meant to be the second most important title over the entire company. That will establish him like this. You could even argue the match actually needs it in case you are a casual fan and you don't know who EC3 is. Aside from a few video vignettes right now and these two odd segments, you have no clue. You have no idea. He could be anyone. Hopefully that's not going to happen, because we're going to have Lashley in a big match and allow him to defend his sparkly new title to boot. Now, we don't actually have any kind of inkling on what WWE wants to do with Bobby at WrestleMania, because the only thing we do know is in an interview Lashley said if he had it his way at Mania 35, he would take on Brock Lesnar. There is no way that's going to happen. Can you imagine Lesnar going after the Intercontinental Championship at the show of shows? I can't, unless, however, WWE wants to completely troll the fan base and Brock Lesnar not actually only beats Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship, so he keeps that, but he also takes the IC title as well. Can you imagine the vitriol and the anger online? Brock Lesnar, Universal and IC title holder, and he ain't even going to turn up on the show. Secretly, I'd like it. A big part of me would hate it because I realise this is not what we need. Ultimately, though, the real reason why Bobby Lashley is now your Intercontinental Champion is because he's getting a push, and we're finally going to try and get him to the place that he needs. So let's support him, let's keep everything crossed, and let's believe in him, because we know he's got more, and if you don't, go on YouTube right now and Google Bobby Lashley TNA. Either way, I love me some flipping Bobby Lashley, and I just don't know why. Probably because I like dudes that have amazing physiques. I'm still that person. I am holding the wrestling evolution back because I guess I kind of think like Vince McMahon. When I see a guy and he's absolutely massive, I go, I'm gonna support him. I'm part of the problem, but I'm happy, and that's all I care about. Bodybuilding for the win. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you think about Bobby Lashley, the fact he is now the IC champion, what could happen with Seth Rollins, and what could happen with Dean Ambrose. Like, share, and subscribe. Head on over to WhatCulture.com and read yourself some articles. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. And why not go watch yourself some more WhatCulture wrestling videos, because you're already here on YouTube, and I always appreciate you stopping by. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. This was the Y Series, and again, thank you very much for watching. And who else is excited? We're only a couple of weeks away from the Raw Rumble. Raw starting to feel more exciting to me. SmackDown, not the best episode in the world, but still decent, and ratings are going back up. That spells positivity to me, and if you know me, positivity is what I'm all about. If I could, or if I had like jet shoes, I'd rocket off into the sky now, but I don't. So instead, I'll give you a salute and tell you that I'll see you again soon.